During my testing of The Last of Us Part 1 on PC, one thing stood out very quickly. One of the most commonly recommended ways to run this game turns out to be the weakest visually, even though the FPS numbers look fine. In this video, I'm looking at how the game actually scales across 1080p native, 1440p and 4K, focusing on image quality in motion, long session stability, and what genuinely feels consistent to play. All footage is captured in real time after shader compilation using the same scenes and conditions. If you usually default to 1080p or native resolution, the last section of this video is the most important. I started at 1440p using the game's recommended DLSS quality preset. In Billstown, the woods and combat section, frame rates mostly sit in the mid-70s and occasionally jumps into the 80s. GPU utilization stays locked at 99%, VRAM usage sits between 7.6 and 7.7 gigabytes, and frame times are extremely consistent. Motion clarity holds up well here. Temporal reconstruction is doing its job. I then switched to DLSS balance. At first, performance looks almost identical, still hovering around the mid-70s. But as the session goes on, especially after a couple of encounters, behavior changes. Frame rates settle more consistently in the mid-80s, while VRAM usage drops slightly to around 7.3 gigabytes. Indoors, performance stays in the low to mid-80s. Side by side, the visual difference is minimal. Edge details and motion stability holds almost identically. What stands out is the headroom. At 1440p, DLSS balance delivers better sustained performance with no meaningful image quality compromise. It doesn't look faster at first, but over time, it holds together better. Moving up to 4K using medium settings with DLSS performance, the image immediately looks more resolved than 1440p DLSS quality. Fine details pop more clearly, edges are better defined, and motion remains stable. With the frame rate capped, the game holds a flawless locked 60 FPS. Uncapped, performance sits in the mid-60s, occasionally touching the 70s. VRAM usage sits around 7.5 gigabytes, GPU utilization remains fully saturated, and the system behaves exactly as expected for a GPU-bound workload. In this configuration, 4K stops feeling experimental and starts feeling practical. Running the same scene at 4K DLSS performance, but forcing a newer DLSS model, the 4.5 model via the NVIDIA app, shifts the balance. Image sharpness improves slightly, fine edges resolve a bit cleaner, but performance drops into the mid-50s. With GPU power draw consistently above 105 watts and utilization fully saturated. In my runs, the clarity gain was real, but the loss in fluidity was easier to notice than the visual improvement. For this game, the trade-off doesn't make sense. This is where the scaling behavior completely flips expectations. At 1080p native with high settings, frame rate sits between the mid-70s and low 80s and gameplay feels smooth. On paper, this looks fine, but the image quality doesn't hold up. LOD details break down, hair and foliage look blockier, and fine details doesn't resolve cleanly in motion. Even enabling DLAA improves edge stability only slightly. The image still falls short of what higher resolutions with reconstruction deliver. In this engine, lower resolution does not produce a better visual result. I didn't test frame generation here. It can raise frame rates, but it also adds meaningful VRAM overhead. For longer sessions in this engine, I prioritize consistency over peak numbers. Looking across all the runs, a clear pattern emerges. Higher output resolutions combined with efficient reconstruction delivers cleaner images, better detail stability in motion, and similar or better fluidity than running native at lower resolutions. Based on this testing, I would not recommend native 1080p in this game if image quality matters. The Last of Us Part 1 on PC makes more sense once you stop chasing native resolution and focus on consistency. These are my findings on my setup, the ASUS TUF F165060. Results can vary with hardwares and drivers. If you've tested different configurations, let me know what you saw. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.